The movie opens with an aerial shot of a floating city named Salem. The world has changed dramatically, and garbage is regularly dumped from Salem onto the city below. Beneath this garbage lies a junkyard filled with broken nanotech parts and the remains of cyborgs. Amidst the debris, Dr. Dyson Ito searches for valuable parts. He first finds a detached robotic arm, and then the severed head of a female cyborg. After scanning the head, he realizes she is still alive, though barely. He carefully takes her remains back to his home, which also functions as a clinic. Back at his laboratory, Dr. Ito's assistant, Nurse Jurhad, watches in amazement as the doctor begins working on the cyborg. He connects her to his machines while various analytics run in the background. As the systems monitor her, Dr. Ito wonders aloud what she might be dreaming of. Meanwhile, Nurse Jurhad performs scans on her brain as the doctor continues his work. The scene ends with Dr. Ito peering into a microscope. The next day, the young cyborg awakens in a bed. Surprised, she examines her new robotic arms and body. She stares at her mechanical limbs in shock, trying to process what has happened. As she attempts to walk, she stumbles and falls but quickly regains her balance on the second try. After getting dressed, she goes downstairs where Dr. Ito and Nurse Jurhad are treating a cyborg patient with a malfunctioning arm. Unable to pay in cash, the patient offers fruit in exchange for the treatment. The girl watches from the stairs as the patient leaves. Nurse Jurhad jokes that if they keep accepting fruit as payment, they'll soon be out of business. Dr. Ito finally notices the girl and asks her how she feels. She replies that she doesn't feel any pain or numbness but is a little hungry. Dr. Ito gives her an orange, which she eats without peeling, surprising the doctor. He notes that her taste sensors are working perfectly. The girl then asks if she's supposed to know Dr. Ito and Nurse Jurhad. They admit that they haven't met before and were hoping she could tell them who she is. Dr. Ito explains that she is a complete replacement cyborg, meaning only her brain survived, which should theoretically allow her to remember something. However, the girl sorrowfully says she can't recall anything, not even her name. Dr. Ito takes her outside, where she marvels at the bustling world of Iron City. He explains that Salem, the city above, is the last of the great sky cities. He tells her that nobody from Iron City has ever gone to Salem, a rule that has never been broken. He then gives her the name Alita. As they walk, Alita becomes fascinated by a large screen advertising a brutal sport called motorball and expresses a desire to play the game one day. While Dr. Ito leaves to attend to some business, Alita encounters a stray dog and shares her food with it. She doesn't notice a large Centurion robot approaching her until it announces its presence. Before the situation escalates, a young man named Hugo intervenes, saving her from harm. Hugo is impressed by her strength and bravery. When Dr. Ito returns, he explains to Hugo that Alita is new to the city and unfamiliar with its dangers. Hugo departs on his unicycle. The next scene shows a woman walking home when she hears a noise in the dark. She is attacked and killed by a shadowy figure. Later that night, Alita wakes up to see Dr. Ito leaving the house, dressed in a black trench coat and carrying a weapon. The next morning, Dr. Ito explains that jackers steal cyborg body parts for the black market, where they are often sold to motorball players. He warns Alita not to stay out after dark. Alita also notices that Dr. Ito has a bandage on his hand, covering a fresh wound. In the following scene, Alita meets a tall woman, Dr. Chiron, who is intrigued by Alita's body. It is revealed that Chiron and Dr. Ito once had a daughter, who tragically died. The body Alita now inhabits once belonged to their daughter. Chiron criticizes Dr. Ito for not destroying the body years ago. Alita then stumbles upon a group of teenagers playing motorball, and Hugo invites her to join the game. Initially, she is knocked down by Hugo's friend Tanji, but Alita quickly retaliates, steals the ball, and scores for her team. Meanwhile, Dr. Ito is seen having a tense conversation with Dr. Chiron at a restaurant. Chiron suggests they team up to return to Salem, but Dr. Ito refuses, distrusting her alliance with Vector, a powerful figure she believes can help her return to the Sky City. Vector is later shown surrounded by bodyguards in a high-tech vehicle, adding to his menacing presence. Back in Iron City, Hugo takes Alita on a ride and introduces her to the taste of chocolate for the first time. At the market, they encounter Zappin, a bounty hunter known as a hunter-warrior. He wields a sword, which intrigues Alita. Hugo explains that guns are outlawed in Iron City, and possessing one is punishable by death. Hugo takes Alita to the top of a building and shares his dream of one day reaching Salem, suggesting that Alita must have come from there, as she was found in the scrapyard below. That night, Alita hears a noise and follows Dr. Ito, suspecting he's up to something. She witnesses him about to confront a woman in a red hood but intervenes, stopping him just as 3 cyborgs ambush them. Dr. Ito is overpowered, and as he faces certain death, he urges Alita to run. Instead, Alita fights the cyborgs, defeating 2 swiftly before engaging the last one, named Gruishka. During the battle with Gruishka, Alita suddenly experiences flashbacks to her past, recalling that she was once a warrior named 99 fighting in a war on the moon. Though she cannot defeat Gruishka entirely, she manages to injure him severely, forcing him to retreat. Dr. Dyson Ito, a scientist and bounty hunter, reveals to Alita that he used to be a hunter-warrior. He explains that the body he gave her originally belonged to his deceased daughter, who was killed by a cyborg before she could use it. Driven by grief, Ito became a bounty hunter. In the next scene, we see a brief interaction between Vector and Dr. Chiron, but this is interrupted when Gruishka appears, seeking their help. In a distressed state, he explains how powerful Alita is. At that moment, Nova, the mysterious figure controlling events from above, takes control of Gruishka, ordering Vector and Dr. Chiron to find and eliminate Alita. Meanwhile, Alita believes that fighting will help her recover her lost memories, but Dr. Ito opposes her decision to become a hunter-warrior, fearing for her safety. Upset by his lack of support, Alita leaves. Later, she and Hugo attend a motorball game, and Hugo explains that the best motorball players are occasionally taken up to the Sky City, Salem. Shortly after, Hugo is dragged away by his friends, including Tanji, who mentions an emergency. Before leaving, Hugo asks Alita out. The following day, it is revealed that Hugo and Tanji are jackers thieves who steal cyborg parts. They ambush a motorball player, and after the attack, Vector arrives, instructing Hugo to deliver the stolen parts to Dr. Chiron. The next day, Alita, Hugo, and their friends explore the city and discover an abandoned spaceship from the United Republic of Mars, URM, during the war. Alita enters the ship and finds a berserker body, which she brings back to Dr. Ito. He recognizes the suit as an advanced URM weapon from the Great War and tells Alita she was once a part of that army. However, Ito refuses to install her into the suit, fearing it will make her too powerful. Frustrated, Alita registers herself as a hunter-warrior, with Hugo by her side. They visit the Kansas bar, where many hunter-warriors gather. Alita tries to recruit them to help her defeat Gruishka, but her efforts are interrupted by Zappin, a rival hunter-warrior who feels disrespected by her. A fight ensues, and Alita easily defeats him, causing a bar brawl. Dr. Ito arrives to stop the chaos, but Gruishka bursts in, now upgraded with new weaponry. He declares that he works for Nova and challenges Alita to a fight. They battle in the underworld, where Gruishka brutally dismembers her. Just as she is on the verge of defeat, Alita remembers her past, recalling her training as a soldier and the importance of defeating Nova. With renewed strength, Alita blinds Gruishka by plunging her arm into his eye. Although she does not kill him, Dr. Ito, Hugo, and another hunter-warrior, McTeague, arrive just in time to save her and force Gruishka to retreat in shame. Ito takes the severely injured Alita home and installs her into the berserker body. When she awakens, she displays incredible strength and agility, even balancing her entire body on one finger. Elated, she shows Hugo her new form, and they share their first kiss. Back at Vector's facility, Nova, speaking through Gruishka, expresses his disappointment in the cyborg's failure but gives him another chance, instructing him to retrieve Alita's heart. After Nova leaves, Vector reveals his own plan to kill Alita. Meanwhile, Hugo confides in Alita about his dream of going to Salem, but when she offers him her heart to sell for the journey, he declines. Instead, they decide that Alita will become a professional motorball player, and Hugo will be her coach. As Alita prepares for her first motorball game, Vector places a bounty on her head, offering 500,000 credits to any hunter-warrior who kills her. At the same time, Hugo attempts to leave the life of a jacker, but a confrontation with Tanji turns violent. Zappin kills Tanji and another cyborg, framing Hugo for the murders. Hugo escapes, calling Alita for help. Back at the motorball arena, Ito realizes that Alita's opponents are all hunter-warriors, but the match begins before he can warn her. Alita skillfully defeats the other players, but as she learns of Hugo's peril, she abandons the game to save him. Hugo is gravely wounded by Zappin, but Alita arrives in time to save him. However, upon learning of Hugo's past as a jacker, she feels conflicted. Zappin, now with a bounty on Hugo, taunts Alita to kill him and even stabs Hugo. Desperate to save him, Alita takes his severed head to Dr. Ito, who connects it to her berserker body to keep him alive. Alita then confronts Zappin, taking his Damascus blade and slicing off his beautiful face. Later, Dr. Ito saves Hugo's life by attaching his head to a cyborg body. He explains to Alita that the only way to reach Salem is by becoming the motorball champion. Meanwhile, Dr. Chirin, disillusioned with Vector's schemes, tells him she no longer wishes to work for him. Alita, now fully determined, kisses Hugo goodbye and sets off to confront Vector and Nova. Alita storms Vector's factory, easily defeating the Centurions guarding it. She faces off with Vector, who reveals that Dr. Chirin's organs have been harvested as punishment for her betrayal. Gruishka reappears, but Alita, in her upgraded berserker body, quickly defeats him. During the battle, a flood of memories returns to Alita, including a scene where her comrades are killed during a mission to destroy Zalem's defense ring. Back in the present, Vector tries to manipulate her, but Alita ends his schemes by killing him. Dr. Ito calls Alita, informing her that Hugo is climbing the massive cable leading to Salem. Alita rushes to stop him, warning that Nova is using him. Just as Hugo is about to relent, the defense ring activates, severing Hugo's body and sending him plummeting to his death. Alita tries to save him, but his damaged arm gives way, and he falls, thanking her for giving him a second chance at life. Months later, Alita competes in the Motorball Champions League, determined to reach Salem. As the crowd cheers, Nova watches from above, while Alita raises her plasma-charged sword to the sky, vowing vengeance. Thanks for watching. Until next time, have a nice day.